It's Tuesday, February 25, and this is your Barbados Today Evening News Update. Canada's High Commissioner to Barbados, Marie Legault, says her office is concerned about the recent shooting of a Canadian visitor. 65-year-old Kenneth Elliott was shot last Saturday night after armed men entered his residence at Ealing Park in Christchurch. During a struggle, Elliott was shot in his left shoulder. Family members have been reporting that he is now paralyzed. She noted Barbados' quick and thorough response to the incident, while saying that Canadian authorities are also on top of the matter.
We were looking at what happened to our Canadian citizen. We're taking measures. We're supporting him. He was evacuated to the States right away to make sure that he had the medical aspect that he needed. But what is also heartening to us is that the government of Barbados was right there with him at the hospital, making sure that everything was in place for him to have the proper support he needed. And we know that the government of Barbados is taking this very seriously. So we are working together on this to making sure that the threat of these aggressions is not occurring anymore.
The High Commissioner expressed hope there would be no increase in any such incidents.
Concern, and we're following the situation very closely. And of course, if we were to see an increase, then we would have to have, first of all, discussions with the government of Barbados, but also decide what we were going to do to make sure that our citizens know what's happening. In this case, we're not taking any measures for the moment, apart from, of course, making sure that our citizens are okay, and that we are in close collaboration with the government to understanding what measures are being taken. But for the moment, we're not taking any other additional measures.
Meanwhile, Foreign Affairs Minister Senator Jerome Walcott has strongly condemned the shooting incident. He, however, assured that government has been working with the family and it will ensure the island suffers little to no fallout from the incident.
You spend years building up your tourism and making plans, and one event like this can mean severe disruption to the entire process, and you then have to rebuild the confidence of Canadian visitors. And in this day of the social media, I mean, that is global, and people will wonder if Barbados is this place in terms of where they can really go and be comfortable. But again, it is regrettable.
The Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc. has also expressed deep regret at the shooting, and it insists that the violent act is not a representation of Barbados and Barbadian people. It maintains that the island remains a proven safe destination for visitors. The BTMI says it remains in contact with the victim's family and is providing all necessary support locally and through its market representatives overseas. In other news this Tuesday, Attorney General Dale Marshall today raised concern that the Ministry of Labour was taking too long to resolve disputes. He raised the concern on day 2 of debate of the estimates as the Ministry of Labour took to the well of Parliament. Marshall not only lamented the length of time it was taking the Chief Labour Officer to settle matters, but slow rulings from the Employment Rights Tribunal.
The Employment Rights Act says that conciliation must take place within 45 days of the complaint. And I'm aware that in some instances your department is attempting to do conciliation 5 years after. Now, I can't see any point in doing a conciliation 5 years after. Can't see any point in doing a conciliation 5 years after. And I am therefore wondering whether the personnel who are responsible for this conciliation mechanism have been appropriately trained and have the necessary skill set to apply to such a sensitive and important area.
In response, Labour Minister Colin James noted that there are some 200 cases before the tribunal. He said the ministry is facing challenges as it seeks to settle matters.
One of the reasons why we continue after the number of days in the statute to attempt conciliation is to continue our efforts to reach resolution so as not to put an inordinate burden on the Employment Rights Tribunal. And the number of labour officers that we have, the number of calls that we get for what might be considered more routine questions, queries, challenges, is one of the things that hamstring us a bit. And I go back to repeat that we will have to intensify, and we will be intensifying our efforts in putting more information in the public domain so that we don't get as many. Hopefully over time the number of calls will fall so that labor officers can devote more of their time to actually working on the conciliation.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
It's Festive Friday at the Bridgetown Night Market at Pelican Craft Center. Kick off the weekend this Friday from 4 p.m. to midnight with loads of food, drinks, and entertainment. Get ready for Crop Over with the Rhythm Roots Street Parade. Party like it's Kadooman Day on the street around Pelican Village with costume reveler, music, and more. It's Festive Friday. It's Festive Friday at the Bridgetown Night Market at Pelican Village Center from 4 p.m. to midnight. Admission free.
To regional news now, Jamaica's opposition People's National Party believes it could do a better job of fighting crime if it was in power. Party leader Dr. Peter Phillips says spiraling crime across the country signals there's a crisis and a new approach is needed. We get the details from Television Jamaica.
According to the People's National Party, up to February 15 this year, murders were up by 6% when compared to the same period in 2019. This despite several states of emergency declared in almost half the country. While speaking on Sunday at a workers' meeting at Justiceira Park in St. Andrew, President of the party Dr. Peter Phillips stressed that the security measure is not working. Dr. Phillips argued that even in spaces where security checkpoints are present, it is evident that the SOEs are ineffective.
Youths in South St. Andrew say police at the checkpoint and soldier and gonna back to gate down. And them can't move, police can't move unless they get instruction to move. It is a waste of the energies of the men and women in the police force. It is blind eye policing.
But why has the PNP continued to support the measure?
The fact of the matter, we are not government. And the government has no plan to put in place other than state of emergency.
On the international scene, more than a dozen people have been killed and hundreds injured in clashes between opposing groups of protesters in New Delhi as riots overshadow Donald Trump's first visit to India.
Charred vehicles and debris littered the streets in the capital's northeast the day after, where some 150 people were also injured in the deadliest riots since protests erupted more than 2 months ago. A constable from Delhi police was among the dead. The clashes erupted just miles away from where Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi met later for talks with US President Donald Trump. On Monday, Trump praised India as a tolerant country while addressing a crowd of more than 100,000 people during his 2-day visit. Schools in the northeast of the city were shut on Tuesday and at least 5 metro stations in the city were closed. The Citizenship Amendment Act has sparked accusations that Modi and his Hindu nationalist BJP party are undermining India's secular traditions. The law makes it easier for non-Muslims from 3 neighbouring countries to gain Indian citizenship. The BJP denies any bias against India's Muslim minority.
That's news, but for the very latest, visit our website at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media and bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. You can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.